looked pretty good out there.
Yeah, good stuff. We have John McMullen checking in now. So once his connection looks like I got him already. So we'll go to John McMullen joining us now on the JAKIB postgame show to give a little recap of the Eagles' 14th win of the year. Johnny Mack, welcome to the show, my friend. Birds win the game today and get 14 wins on the year, a 20-13 win. Tanner McKee did a good job. John, what'd you see out there today, brother?
Woo, yeah, 14-3. I mean, I don't know how the New York Giants survived this, but that's for them to talk about. Brian Daboll. Oh, just an ill-prepared, undisciplined team. But give the Eagles credit. I mean, this is basically their backups out there. Tanner McKee was tremendous, especially early in the game. Dan and I were joking at Tanner Manning. Almost. He didn't quite keep it up, but I'll tell you what, they had 190 passing yards in the first half, I believe, most all season, most since 2022. And his ability to get people involved, dish it off, as I was saying on the halftime show, I think with you, Xander, he described himself as a point guard when we were talking to him this week. He regards his job as distributing the football. And he got it to everybody. Started with Dallas Goedert early with the 2 quick receptions. By the way, he looked great. So, any concern over the rust with Dallas Goedert, that got over pretty quickly. And how about Jahan Dotson? The guy's invisible. And all of a sudden they can't cover him. Now it's the New York Giants, but still separation. Really good game by Jahan Dotson. And then the defense. We talked, it's official now. There's a couple games to go, but nobody's beaten this defense. This is the first number 1 defense in Vic Fangio's long storied career. And who would have thought that back when we started this season? Number 1 defense.
Absolutely, John. I mean, it was a really well-constructed game on defense. Kellen Moore looked comfortable in the play calling. And I'll tell you something else too, John, about the coaching. No turnovers. And on top of that, you had no penalties. You had that 1 penalty, but it was for no yards. I mean, you really had a clean ball game with backups where traditionally you and I know there's a ton of turnovers and a ton of penalties and a ton of mistakes when you have backups. Look at the Giants. Like you said, how many drives did they keep going for the Eagles because of undisciplined play? I mean, they kept 4 or 5 drives going because of that. They were well disciplined in the game. That comes to preparation. I think they were well prepared for this ball game. Like you said, the Giants, that's not the Eagles' problem that the Giants are unprepared and not talented. That's a Giant problem. I thought that was a well-coached football game, and I even like Nick, instead of going for it on 4th down, trying to get a little confidence for Elliott to kick the field goal heading into the postseason. I was even good with that. I mean, John, I think they did a nice job at prepping these guys and getting them ready for the game against the Giants this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get – these are mainly scout team players. You think about Tanner McKee getting the first touchdowns ever for Anaya Smith and E.J. Jenkins. Both players get their first NFL touchdowns. For E.J. Jenkins, it was his first NFL catch as well. So he was able to get, as I said, everybody involved. The backup offensive line, you give credit to Jeff Stoutland. Kellen Moore, I think, let's be honest, this is more of the offense Kellen Moore wants to run, and that's why he was brought here to run. So that's probably why you saw a little bit more comfort from that perspective. So he deserves credit. And then you can't say enough about Vic Fangio. I mean, it doesn't matter who he rolls out there. Sidney Brown made 2 big plays today. I didn't even know if he was going to play safety, but, his plan was, okay, Avonte Maddox, who's taken over as the 3rd safety really, was going to play nickel because they didn't want to play Cooper DeJean, understandably. So all of a sudden, it's Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum out there playing safety. And in the first half, they took that deep shot to Malik Neighbors. It was a good throw, one of the rare good throws in the game from Drew Lock. And boy, I wish you guys could have seen that from overhead. He closed a lot of ground to get over there, and a big hit to break up that, and then the interception to essentially clinch the game. So good to see Sidney Brown getting involved. Warren Burks had like 17 tackles. That was in on everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And tackles are not always a great stat because, if you tackle guys 7-8 yards down the field, who cares? But that wasn't Warren Burks. He was in on everything. What a signing he's been. People don't think about it because he's the third linebacker, special teams player. But this is a guy who made the playoffs. We were just talking to him because he's a former Packer. He's a former 49er. He's always in the playoffs. He's always playing in these big games. Just has a real settle down effect to him when he's out there. Moments never too big for him. That's another guy who doesn't get talked about. And the few guys who had to play, Jordan Davis, he was, there were a couple screens early where he's tracking back to get the receiver. Bryce Huff is out there playing a little bit better. So that was good to see from him. And then Dallas Goedert, obviously, is the one guy who typically wouldn't be playing. Typically, he'd be one of the deference players, but he's been out for a month. If you watch that guy in the first quarter, he didn't look like a guy who was out for a month.
No, he didn't.
He looked like himself. And that's a big – because he's going to be a big part of their offense because Jalen Hurts trusts Dallas Goedert. And sometimes that's not always the case with certain receivers.
No doubt about it. John, real quick, Sills, let me get this in. John, how do you decipher what you said about the offense? Because you said, a couple of things you said about how Tanner spreads the ball around, and then you also said, this is the offense that Kellen Moore wanted to run. Let's be real. What do you mean by that? Do you see it as a problem? Is it just a circumstance with the quarterback you have? How do you decipher that?
I think good coaches build offenses around the talent they have, and that's why you hit the same point with Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, and now Kellen Moore. You're running the same offense, a little bit of differences here and there, but from a framework perspective, it's been the same offense. That's what you do. When Nick Sirianni was in Indianapolis, he had Andrew Luck. That was a different offense. The next year, because Andrew Luck retired, they were in panic mode. Jacoby Brissett, completely different offense. The next year, Phillip Rivers, completely different offense. Everybody gets here, sees what Jalen does well, goes back to the RPOs and the +1 running game. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's what he does well. Now, if you have a quarterback capable of distributing the ball around the field, spreading it to 8 different receivers, yeah, that's what they would prefer. But, again, and Dan and I were joking about it a little bit in the pregame. That doesn't mean Tanner McKee is better than Jalen Hurts. I'm talking about if you have a high level Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Everybody wants that, who can do things and manipulate things at the line of scrimmage and get everybody involved. But it's easier said than done. But it's fun for a coordinator. And that's why you see it all over the league. It's not an insult. I know people will take it as an insult, but, a lot of coordinators will take it as a challenge if they have to go to their backup quarterback and try to develop a game plan to help that particular quarterback. And that's what Kellen Moore did today. And Tanner McKee just got done talking to him, gave him a ton of credit for that. Getting him comfortable, getting him on the move, those quick waggle, misdirection, getting guys, and Tanner was able to do the rest. You'll notice, in the second half, it got a little murkier, a little bit more difficult as the defense adjusted. But, it looked pretty good for a third-string quarterback.
How about this, John? What's the latest? Did they say anything about the protocol and Hurts, or will we know more about that on Monday? Did they just leave that alone? Or
yeah,
I'm sorry?
No, we'll know Wednesday. He's going to be on the field on Wednesday practicing. If he's not, that's when you panic. They're going through this. And by the way, I don't agree with the Eagles. They should have just started they should have started it last week and said, we're resting him. For whatever reason, they made the decision. They made the decision that they made. I don't know why. It creates this uncertainty. It creates these questions. Nick got the question again. He was angry about it again. He was, he's in the protocol. He's progressing in the protocol is what he says. They're slow playing it on purpose. He'll be out there on Wednesday. If he isn't on Wednesday, that's when the red flag goes up.
John, it's been now confirmed the Green Bay Packers are coming to the city of brotherly love for the Eagles wild card matchup. When you hear that, what goes through your head, Johnny Mac? Your first thoughts on that?
Yeah, good team. Now Jordan Love got hurt again today. They took him out. I think he could have came back in.
They did say after the game.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why Green Bay played it the way they played it. Last second field goal, Chicago. They got a big field goal from Brandon McManus, who's a local kid, and then the Bears came back down with sort of a miracle throw and then a big field goal to win it. But they put Malik Willis in there. Dr. David Chow, the famed sort of internet doctor, looked at it and said, looks like a funny bone, no structural damage. So he should be ready to play. Good matchup, a good team. But you got to play good teams in the playoffs. So, especially in the NFC. You're not getting any gimmies. The Eagles are better, but Green Bay's dangerous. I'm sure Dallas went into the playoffs last year saying the same thing. We're better. Green Bay came to Dallas and put a you-know-what on them. And they're capable if they're playing at that high level. Now, they haven't been very consistent, but good team, and it'll be a good test for the Eagles.
John, let me ask you this one here. The significance of Jeffrey Lurie winning his 300th game as an owner means what to you?
Well, I mean, it's always significant when you get to that level. But I think Jeffrey Lurie as a whole, I think, is, his ownership. Like, you have a whole generation of Eagles fans that have grown up thinking the playoffs are a normal thing, expected. And now it's become large playoff runs are expected. Wasn't always that way in Philadelphia.
For sure.
The pre-Andy Reid era was not always that way. He had some nice runs with Dick Vermeil and Buddy Ryan, at least as far as being relevant, not winning playoff games, but being relevant. Prior to that, it was really bad. I mean, really bad for about 2 decades. But he's turned this into one of the better organizations in the NFL. And it starts with him. So when everybody's, I got news for you. Not that Nick Sirianni wanted to play Saquon Barkley today, but he wouldn't have been allowed to even if he wanted to. And that's because everything is set at the top of this organization. Everybody's on the same page or trying to be on the same page. That's why Dom's texting people to tell them to shut up on the radio. Everybody, they try to keep everybody on the same page. And, it works for the most part. That doesn't mean you're going to win the Super Bowl every year, but this team is relevant every year. Here we are again. This is 14 wins. 14 wins. I mean, they won 14 in 2022.
John, I said I said this about the franchise. I'm like, I asked the question about when's the last time they had back-to-back losing seasons, and somebody pointed out it was Andy's final 2 years.
Which I don't even. I think it might have been fake news. I think Andy was 8-8 in his final year, so it might have even been longer.
I don't remember, John, when they lost, had 2 losing seasons in a row. I mean, a lot of teams, when they look at the Rams, I mean, after they won the Super Bowl, they struggled. I mean, a lot of football teams, man, as you know, John, you're going to have downtimes and downtrends because of roster, free agency, money you spent.
Yeah.
Man, you don't see that in Philly, man. Since 2000, every single coach, John, here's a testament to Laurie. Every single coach since 2000, including Chip, has a winning record. I mean, that says a lot to me that when they make the hire, they get a guy that wins. I mean, they win a lot of football games.
Well, and I think Jeffrey has a lot to do with it. Dallas, I know Stephen Jones was talking this week about the Eagles, and eventually the salary cap stuff is going to come back and bite him in the ass. No, it's not, because the owner okays dead money. And he's like, all right, we made a mistake. We'll move on. It's not going to bite him in the ass. And there are very few teams who have owners that approve that kind of stuff. Howie's a great GM. Xander and I were having that discussion, and I used to get a lot of shit, Dan, for saying Howie Roseman was the top 5 GM in this league. And now I got to veer people back because now everybody's like, Howie's the second coming. I'm like, it starts with Jeffrey. First of all,
John, that money that he gives up front in the front end of it versus the back end, when the player, because a player for me, John, I don't want promised money. I want money in the bank. So if that comes in with a little bit less and the owner goes like this, hey, I'll give you this up front and we want you to tailor it back in salary as we go forward. Players are going to go, I don't want promised money. I want for sure money in the bank. And that completely starts with there's very few owners, 99% of the owners will not put the money up front in those contracts and to back end it with lowered payments. Most of the time, it's escalated up, not down. That's the secret to this guy, in my opinion, on constructing those contracts, John, and that starts with the owner.
Yeah. And the second part is patience. How many GMs get to hire 3 different coaches? Most GMs are coaching are GMing for their job every couple of years. And when you have to prove your worth every couple of years, what do? You take chances. Maybe you don't want to do something, but you say, I got to win a couple more games or I'm out of here. And that spawns poor decisions and as I said, chances you probably shouldn't take. So, the Eagles build the right way, offensive line, defensive line. And then when you get that into place, you start building the other stuff. And this year it clicked in with the running back for the first time in years. And that worked out pretty well, I would say. So we'll see how far they can take it, but they're a good team. They're one of, I would say, 5 legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And if you're in that position, I always tell Eagles fans, I had one guy tell him, I can't wait till the Eagles beat Detroit so McMullen can eat crow. I go, I'm not eating crow. Enjoy the journey. I think they're a good fucking team. They won 14 games. They're 14-2 going into tonight's game. I think they're pretty good. If the Eagles beat them, that means they're pretty good. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We give our opinions. Nobody's laughing at me because I say Detroit's a good team, but the Eagles are a good team as well. And the matter is how good can they get? How far can they take it? And there's a little bit of concern with the starting quarterback because he hasn't been out there. And I know people are going to panic until Wednesday. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to Aaron Rodgers you, relax. He's going to be out there on Wednesday.
Johnny Mac, how about that? 3 teams in the NFC with 14 wins, and one of them is going to get to 15 wins. Pretty good playoff coming up here in the NFC, brother.
Hey, John, have you ever seen that? At the final game of the year determines home field advantage, and a 14-win team is going to be in the 5-hole as a wild card. Have you ever seen that?
No, it's never happened before. It's never happened before. But, understand, they haven't been playing 17 games for that long. But this is the first time that 2 14-2 teams are meeting for the number 1 seed. And yeah, it looks bad for 1 year when you have a 14-win team as a 5 seed, but it doesn't happen that often. So, yeah, and they want to obviously make sure that division champions are rewarded for going through what they've gone through.
Johnny Mac, good stuff, brother. Any final thoughts on this backup bowl, the Tanner McKee Bowl, before we let you go, brother?
Well, the beauty of this game is it wasn't the backup bowl. It was the backup bowl for one team, and they won. So
that's true.
The backups beat the other teams. Now, a lot of guys are out for the Giants, and they shut them down. But they're playing their starters that they have. It was only the backup bowl for one team, and the Eagles were able to beat it. And they're polar opposites. The Eagles are 14-3. The Giants are 3-14. That pretty much sums up these two organizations.
Hey, John, do you think they would put Tanner McKee in that 2-hole because of the injury issues to Kenny Pickett heading into that playoff game? Or you think that'll be determined later in the week?
No. Well, I think it'll be determined by Kenny Pickett's health. Yeah, he's got broken ribs. So there's a possibility from a health perspective. If Kenny's ready to go, he's going to be the backup. So it's all determined on health. I know people don't understand it, but the Eagles are comfortable with Kenny Pickett as their backup.
Johnny Mac, good show. Thanks for doing it today, brother. We'll talk to you in the morning on the on Birds 365. Appreciate you checking in on the post-game show. 14 wins, Johnny Mac. Good job on the regular season is now in the rear view, Johnny Mac. Well done.
Tanner Manning, John. Get it right. Tanner Manning.
Yeah. Hey, man. Nobody's thrown for more first-half passing yards in Philadelphia since, I don't know who, since Jalen Hurts in 2022.
I like it. All right, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, brother. We'll talk to you in the morning.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you, John.
Good stuff there from Johnny Mac, joining in from Lincoln Financial Field. He was down there for Tanner McKee's big game. 14-3. Sills, I can't even think about this game anymore. I'm ready for the playoffs. My guy.
Who was ever thinking about the game? I was watching Pickett, and I was watching Dotson, and I was watching guys who potentially could contribute to the playoff run. You know what I saw too? I saw backup defensive tackles that we both talked about, Booker and Ojimo. I thought those guys were good out there, man. I thought I saw Shipley make some plays. I like him moving forward down the line a couple of years. I think he'll be somebody on that team. Hey, by the way, who was the special teams punt returner back there that was taking punt returns for the Eagles today? Because if I'm Britton Covey, I've got to start telling you.
That was Isaiah Rodgers.
I thought Isaiah Rodgers looked outstanding in that role as that punt returner back there, man. He looked good. I thought he almost broke one. Did he get a 50-yard return? I thought he looked
51, yep.
There, man. I mean, I liked seeing him there. I saw him make a couple plays in the secondary. So I was looking at guys that could help contribute in depth when it came to the postseason. I thought the O-line, as we both mentioned, I thought they played well. I mean, Xander, there were some things taking away. But now, moving forward, get this, single elimination games. Okay? It's win or go home. And
that's what I like.
That's what I like. In this format, you don't get a mulligan. How you doing? This is all about showing up to see if you're one of those elite teams to go on and win a Super Bowl. We're going to find out. Rince, dude, how you doing?
So Black Monday is coming early. Gerard Mayo already fired by the New England Patriots.
1 year they gave him, and they blew his ass out. It must have been something organizationally that Bob Kraft and his kid didn't see that they really enjoyed, because you got to remember something about that defense a year ago. As bad as the Patriots were, they were 7th in total defense. I mean, they didn't – remember, they were losing games like 6-3. They were bad. They were awful this year. And you got to start looking at Drake May. Is that guy really the answer?
I like Drake May.
Okay. No.
I kind of like him.
Well, if you think that, start putting players around him.
Right. Now people are saying Vrabel's going to be.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree that'll be Mike Vrabel's job, because don't you remember what happened? What almost got him fired in Tennessee? He showed up to a Patriots induction, and he's in the booth there with Bob Kraft.
Right.
And he was sitting in the booth with it. I'm like, there's your next head football coach. You know what I like about Vrabel, though? Remember this, Xander? And if you ever do this, and I'm going to be able to do this, watch, just like Angelo did with me. Watch what I'm doing to you. I'm going to pass it.
Look at that crusty mic. Clean your microphone.
Listen, I'm going to pass the golden mic to you one day. But you never want to do this, Xander. Don't replace Bill Belichick. Replace Jared Mayo.
Exactly. That's what they say. Never replace the guy. Replace the guy that replaced the guy. That's what you want to do. All right, so there's a couple more minutes, man, before I let you go. I know it's Corona o'clock over in Big Silly World.
3 chilling right now, Junior.
He's got 3 on ice, and 3 more are going on ice after one of those gets taken off the ice. So Big Sil has a big night in front of him, enjoying some football. What's your final takes on today's game, man? Hey, listen, I know you like to give us shit here in Philadelphia. 14-3, Big Sills. That's a good season.
Good?
Great.
I mean,
now you're right. It goes to shit if you lose in round 1. So handle business.
But okay, I mean, that's the component of this. But Xander, honestly, I mean, what is this? You're 39. You're 39 and 12 in 3 years. I mean, dude, that to me is the number. You know why? That's consistent winning, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're telling me you're winning almost 40 games in 3 seasons. And I mean, that's really consistent winning. Now, if you validate it with a Super Bowl, get this how that sounds. 2 NFC championships, a Super Bowl ring, and the best winning percentage of anybody in the last 4 years. And on top of that, you're talking about the best road record in NFL since Nick Sirianni took over. Dude, that's how you validate an era, is by closing the door on one of those years.
Right.
Okay? If you close one of those years up, and then you know what you start doing with Hurts? Hey, Sileo, fuck you in 2903. I just won the Super Bowl. How you doing, Big Sills? You're now Little Sills.
Well, here's the problem. This roster is so damn good that you're always going to want more with this team. Like, even if you win 1, you'd say, well, if we had Burrow, we'd be a dynasty. We'll win 4. You know, there's always going to be that catch-22, I feel like.
Yeah, well, hell, if I had Burrow or if I had Allen, well, you know what? Okay, so the one thing they don't have is the most important thing, but he's not awful. You've already proven you got to the game with him, and he excelled in the game. Get to the game. How about this?
Get there, right.
But this, if that roster does the same thing they did in 22, Jalen was a non-factor in that divisional game and the NFC title game that year. But you know what you got him to? You got him to the game, and then when he got to the game, he performed. Get him to that. Remember what you said about Josh Allen? Here's the one thing, Xander. Buffalo can't carry Josh Allen to an AFC title or a Super Bowl. Allen's got to win 4 games in a row for him to do that. Hurts doesn't have to win 4 games in a row. Hurts has to win the game, because I think that roster is good enough to get him to the game.
I agree. Big Sills, great stuff today, brother. We will talk to you tomorrow, 2 to 6. By the way, we didn't mention it at all in the game day shows, and we'd be remiss to not mention it before you leave. What a great job by you on Friday with a big interview from Angelo Cataldi. You set the city on fire. Howard Eskin's calling. Angelo's calling. The city's writing reports on it. Big Sills is the arbiter of truth in Philadelphia nowadays. Big Sills, well done by you.
All I got to say is, Howard, I reached out to him. He reached back to me. He said, Sills, let it settle a little bit and I'll come on. And I'm like, hey, man, all good. I want to get your side of it, guy. I told him this, and I said, my ass isn't with you, Howard. I want you to know that my ass is with Odyssey and how they run people over 4 or 5 times to make a point. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody, half the city loves me, half the city hates me. All I care about is you listen and view me. How you doing?
I know you do. All right, brother. Good show, man. We'll catch you tomorrow, 2 to 6 National Football Show.
I'll see you at 3:30, brother.
All right, brother. See you, man. Good stuff from Big Sills on the post-game show here. Great stuff. Great show, everybody. Eagles win their 14th game. 14 games they won this year. That's a lot of winning, guys. We're doing a lot of win. Listen, we all have our own gripes with the Philadelphia Eagles. Some people like this. Some people don't like this. Some people want Jalen. Some people hate Jalen. The fact of the matter is we just keep winning, and we got to enjoy it every once in a while. You know what I mean? 14 wins, that's pretty damn good stuff. 48 wins for Sirianni in his first 4 years of coaching. That's pretty impressive stuff. Look at Dirty Air. Dirty Air, I was thinking about this. He goes, Dotson jersey giveaway. Dirty Air, I was thinking of doing a promo for jersey giveaway, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not giving away a backups jersey that's going to be gone in a year or two. That's a waste of a jersey. You know, I want legends. To give away. But I hear you, Dirty Air. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. I'll get to a couple super chats, then I'll send out the link for the post-game show. Let's keep it short and quick today, guys. I got a lot of stuff I got to get done. And then I also, selfishly, I would like to watch that game tonight, which is still a couple hours away. So we're still good on that front. But that Vikings-Lions game is going to be going. By the way, who do you guys have in that game? I'm thinking the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win that game tonight, but that's just me. I'm a Dan Campbell guy. I like him. I like the way he prepares his team. I like his approach. He doesn't give a shit who goes down. I just like it. It's the type of coach I'd want to play for. So I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. I think the Lions win that game. A lot of Vikings guys though. Devontae, what's up, brother? He says he's taking the Vikings. Kakoa's got the Lions. Nice. Izzy B, Vikings. Steve says Vikings. Dirty Air says Vikings. Good stuff. Twiz the Jig. NFC's champs. 14 wins, 2 seed. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. 14 wins, by the way, in 2022 got us the 1 seed. NFC has gotten better. Good stuff. Daz is taking the Lions. Good stuff. Lucia's taking the Vikings. All right, we'll see. I got the Lions. I think the Lions win that football game tonight, man. I think that offense is tough to stop. But I'm going to take the Lions, and we'll see. Who gets the win and who drops to the 5 seed and who gets the bye week. It's going to be a big one. So that'll be a good game tonight. Let's get to our commercial break. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Don't forget to stay tuned. Hit that like button. We will do the post-game show tonight. We'll do a little bit of a shortened edition of it, and I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. Coming up next here on JAKIB Sports on the post-game show. Stay tuned, everybody.
Ignite your nights with